If you've ever wanted to play Frost Mage, but felt overwhelmed by all the spells, positioning, movement, crowd control, keybinds, or people acting like you need a PhD in World of Warcraft just to enjoy the class, this guide is for you. Today I'm going to teach you how to actually play Frost Mage in WoW Midnight. Not from the perspective of a tournament player trying to force you into spreadsheets and perfection, but from the perspective of someone who genuinely loves the class. Frost Mage is one of the most fun, expressive, and satisfying classes in World of Warcraft once it finally clicks. You control the battlefield, you slow enemies, you create space, you survive situations you should never survive, and eventually you start making people panic. This guide is for complete beginners, returning players, casual players, PvP players, PvE players, and anyone who wants to understand the actual feeling of Frost Mage. We're going to go over core spells, movement, positioning, damage, survival, PvP, PvE, macros I actually use, beginner mistakes, and how to improve naturally without turning the game into algebra. My name is Spinks. Welcome to Frost Mage. Before we even talk about abilities, we need to talk about identity. Because Frost Mage is not really about standing still and casting damage. Frost Mage is about control. And honestly, that's part of why I ended up falling in love with the class. For years I played melee classes, I tanked, I raided. Being in the middle of the fight was part of my actual personality. Then I got injured in real life and couldn't walk for almost 2 months. That experience completely changed how I thought about strength. My wife actually told me, maybe you should try adopting a mage mindset. And ever since then, I've tried to perfect it. Not being underneath a boss, constantly getting hit in the face, not always charging directly into danger. Instead, controlling distance, staying calm, controlling space, thinking ahead, manipulating pressure. That's Frost Mage. You're not a hunter. You are not run and gun. You peel with crowd control. You create space. You slice enemies apart with shards of ice. And ideally, you stay untouchable while doing it. Because Frost Mage is cloth. You are squishy. If you take your eye off the fight for 1 second, you can get obliterated. That's why awareness matters more than almost anything else. A good Frost Mage controls space, controls movement, tempo, panic, and controls positioning. The reason Frost Mage feels weak to many beginners is because they try to play it like another caster or a melee class with ranged spells. That's not what Frost Mage is. Frost Mage is the untouchable answer to multiple problems. And eventually, once the class clicks, Frost Mage starts feeling less like a DPS class and more like a battlefield controller. Alright, now that we've talked about the identity and mindset behind Frost Mage, let's actually talk about the core spells. And this is where I want beginners to slow down and really understand something. Your abilities are not just random buttons. Every spell in Frost Mage has a purpose, and once those purposes start connecting together, Frost Mage suddenly stops feeling overwhelming. At first, Mage can feel like too many keybinds, reactions, too many movement decisions, too much pressure, but eventually the toolkit starts feeling connected, and that's when Frost Mage becomes smooth. Personally, I think one of the biggest mistakes beginners make is trying to memorize perfect rotations before understanding why abilities exist. Don't think, what button do I press? Think, what is this spell helping me accomplish? That mindset changes everything. So let's start with the foundation. Frostbolt. Frostbolt is your core spell. And honestly, a lot of beginners underestimate it because it's your basic cast. But Frostbolt is incredibly important. Frostbolt slows enemies, creates pressure, generates procs, controls pacing, and creates breathing room. This is one of the first mindset changes for Frost Mage. You are not just dealing damage, you're shaping the movement. Every slow changes positioning, every slow changes pressure, and every slow changes how enemies approach you. That matters. One thing you'll notice about strong Frost Mages is they are almost always casting. Even if they're repositioning, even if they're under pressure, even if they're retreating. Always be doing something. You do not want to spend entire fights panic running. That's a huge beginner mistake. The goal is to create space, reposition, continue pressure. And Frostbolt helps enable that entire flow. Ice Lance. Ice Lance is where Frost Mage starts feeling satisfying. This ability is one of the reasons people fall in love with the spec, especially once you understand frozen targets or shatter, burst windows, and timing. This is where Frost Mage begins transforming from slow, ranged caster into precision ice assassin. Ice Lance rewards awareness, setup, timing, and proc understanding. And honestly, this is one of the most important spells for beginners to truly understand, because once Ice Lance starts making sense, Frost Mage starts making sense. You'll eventually notice moments where enemies overextend, someone gets frozen, pressure lines up, and suddenly a few shards of ice completely delete somebody. That's Frost Mage. Flurry and brain freeze. This is where Frost Mage starts becoming more fluid. At first, Flurry can feel awkward. That's normal. A lot of beginners struggle with Flurry initially because it introduces rhythm and timing. But eventually, Flurry becomes one of the smoothest parts of the spec. And this is also where brain freeze becomes important. This mechanic teaches you one of the core Frost Mage lessons. Pay attention. Frost Mage rewards awareness constantly. The more aware you become, the smoother your gameplay becomes. The more natural your combos become, the calmer your decision making becomes. This is another reason I love Frost Mage. The spec feels intelligent. Frozen Orb. Frozen Orb is where Frost Mage begins feeling dangerous, especially in battlegrounds. Frozen Orb creates pressure, slows groups, generates procs, controls space, and creates chaos. And honestly, a good Frozen Orb can completely change a fight. This ability is one of the reasons I describe Frost Mage as a controller, because you're not just targeting one person, you're influencing the battlefield itself. A well-placed Frozen Orb slows pushes, disrupts movement, pressures healers, and forces enemies to react. And if enemies ignore it, they get punished. Blizzard. A lot of beginners underestimate Blizzard, especially players coming from melee classes, because at first glance, it's just like an AoE damage spell. But Blizzard is much more than that. Blizzard is zone control, battlefield pressure, proc generation, and area denial. This is another example of Frost Mage not being about standstill or turret damage. You're constantly shaping space. That's why awareness matters so much for Frost Mage. Good mages notice movement paths, choke points, objective areas, clustered enemies, and Blizzard becomes incredibly valuable in all of those situations. Glacial Spike. Glacial Spike is one of those abilities that makes Frost Mage feel terrifying, especially once you understand setup. This is not just big damage button. Glacial Spike rewards preparation, timing, and pressure, and awareness. And honestly, landing a massive Glacial Spike is one of the most satisfying feelings in WoW, especially when somebody overextends, ignores positioning, or they underestimate your burst, or they just simply stop respecting a Frost Mage. That's why pressure matters so much. Pressure creates mistakes, and Frost Mage is amazing at punishing mistakes. Ray of Frost. Ray of Frost is one of the abilities that really sells the Frost Mage fantasy. This ability feels powerful, but it also teaches positioning, because if your positioning is bad, your Ray gets interrupted. If your setup is weak, enemies escape. But when used correctly, Ray of Frost feels oppressive. One thing I want beginners to understand, Frost Mage is not just about doing random damage all game. Frost Mage is about creating pressure, forcing mistakes, then punishing those mistakes hard. That's why I personally focus more on pressure than raw damage. Pressure changes how people move. Pressure changes decision making. pressure creates panic, and panic creates openings. That's when Frost Mage becomes deadly. Now we get into what I personally believe separates Frost Mage from most other ranged classes: control. This is the section where Frost Mage stops feeling like just another caster and starts feeling like a battlefield manipulator. This is also where a lot of beginners completely misunderstand the spec, because Frost Mage is not really about standing still, machine gunning damage, and hoping enemies fall over. A huge part of your power comes from controlling movement. Honestly, that's why I love the class. You're not just reacting to fights, you're influencing them. Frost Nova. Frost Nova is one of the first abilities that teaches you Frost Mage mindset. This spell is not just press root. Frost Nova creates breathing room, and breathing room is survival. One of the biggest mistakes new Frost Mages make is panicking when melee gets close. But Frost Nova gives you time to reposition, blink, create distance, reset pressure, or prepare burst. This is one of the first moments where Frost Mage starts feeling slippery. Polymorph. Polymorph is one of the abilities that makes Mage feel truly unique. You are temporarily removing someone from the fight, and that is incredibly powerful. A lot of beginners think crowd control only matters in arena. Polymorph is useful everywhere. Battlegrounds, world PvP, objectives, dungeons, group control. This ability teaches awareness, because strong polymorph usage comes from noticing who is dangerous, who is vulnerable, who is isolated, and who is overextending. One thing I want beginners to understand: you do not always need to tunnel damage. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is completely remove someone else from the fight. That's how you control mentalities. Counterspell. Counterspell is one of those abilities that makes Frost Mage feel intelligent, because now you're not just doing the damage, you're interrupting momentum. You're stopping pressure, you're denying healing, you're disrupting setups. A well-timed counterspell can completely change a fight. This is why awareness matters so much for Frost Mage. Strong counterspells usually come from paying attention, reading situations, predicting pressure, and staying calm. Personally, I use mouse over counterspell macro because it keeps gameplay smooth and responsive. That's a big part of Frost Mage in general: smoothness. One of the biggest mindset shifts for Frost Mage is understanding that control is pressure. A lot of players only think pressure means damage, but slowing enemies, interrupting enemies, polymorphing enemies, forcing bad positioning, making melee chase you awkwardly, that creates pressure too. That's why Frost Mage can feel oppressive, because eventually enemies stop feeling comfortable around you. You can know every spell in the game, you can memorize every rotation, you can copy every talent build, but if your positioning is bad, then Frost Mage becomes extremely difficult. Movement and positioning are what separate calm Frost Mages from panicked Frost Mages. This is where I think Frost Mage starts becoming less about mechanics, more about awareness. Blink. Blink is one of the greatest abilities in World of Warcraft. Seriously. Teleportation is basically a god tier mutant power, and once you start getting comfortable with Blink, Frost Mage becomes incredibly fun. But beginners misuse Blink constantly. A lot of new mages panic Blink, or blink aggressively, or blink into bad positions, or use Blink after it's already too late. Personally, I use Blink over Shimmer most of the time. The reason is simple. I like being able to escape stuns without needing to instantly trinket. That freedom changes the fights for me. And that's part of a Frost Mage philosophy in general: preparation. You always want an escape option. Blink is not just movement. Blink is survival, spacing, positioning, tempo control, and pressure management. One of the biggest things I want beginners to understand: do not wait until the fight is completely collapsing before moving. Good Frost Mages reposition before danger fully arrives. Positioning philosophy may honestly be the single most important concept in the entire guide. Strong Frost Mages are constantly thinking about where the danger is, where escape paths are, where pillars are, where healers are, where the high ground is, where melee want to go. And one of the biggest beginner mistakes is overextending for damage. A lot of new Frost Mages tunnel vision. They see low health enemies and suddenly sprint into terrible positioning. But Frost Mage is not really about reckless aggression, it's about controlled pressure. I always try to hang back, stay near some pillars, take high ground when possible, create awkward paths for enemies to run, because if enemies have to work hard just to reach you, you already have an advantage. Knowing when to leave a fight is part of being a strong Frost Mage. That's another huge mindset shift. You do not always need to stay in every fight. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is retreat. Alter Time. Alter Time is one of the coolest abilities in the entire game. It's also one of the hardest abilities for beginners to truly understand. Most people think Alter Time is just like a healing spell, but it's so much more than that. Alter Time repositions, it's pressure baiting, it has survivability, and it resets potential. Personally, one of my favorite things to do is to create distance, use Alter Time, blink away, then force melee to chase me. A lot of players mindlessly will follow you, and then suddenly you snap back to your original location. Now they're overextended. That's what you gotta do to be a Frost Mage. Turn enemy aggression against them. You're not always overpowering enemies. Sometimes you're simply outmaneuvering them. Alright, now we get into some more important parts for Frost Mage. Survival. If you can't survive pressure, you cannot play Frost Mage effectively. Because this is a class that wears cloth. You are squishy. And if you stand still and let people freely hit you, you will absolutely explode. That's why Frost Mage survival is not about tanking damage, outmuscling enemies, or brute force. It's about awareness, preparation, and movement. This is one of the reasons Frost Mage feels so rewarding. When you survive situations you probably should have died in, the class feels incredible. Ice Barrier. Ice Barrier is simple but extremely important. This is your first line of protection. A lot of beginners forget to use it consistently. Good Frost Mages constantly think ahead. You want protection before pressure fully arrives, not after your health already disappears. Ice Barrier helps smooth incoming damage. Ice Block. Ice Block is one of the most iconic abilities in all of World of Warcraft. One of the hardest abilities for beginners to use correctly, and a lot of new Frost Mages use it too late, panic use it, or they greed too hard trying to save it. And honestly, one of the biggest lessons I learned, it's okay to Ice Block early, especially when enemy burst is clearly coming, because dead players do 0 damage. And one of the biggest mistakes beginners make is treating Ice Block like absolute emergencies only. But strong Frost Mages use Ice Block intelligently, not emotionally. Personally, I use an Ice Block macro with healing potions or health stones because I like stacking recovery together smoothly. Again, smoothness matters. Surviving melee pressure is where some Frost Mages struggle. Honestly, that's completely normal. Melee pressure can feel overwhelming at first, especially because Frost Mage is fragile. But one of the biggest mindset shifts is understanding your job is not to stand there and out-brawl melee. Your job is to slow momentum, create space, survive the pressure, reposition, and then punish their overextension. Personally, when melee pressure starts ramping up, I immediately start thinking about frozen orb positioning, blink escape paths, alter time setup, ice block timing, and kite routes. Now let's talk about how Frost Mage actually functions in real content. Because honestly, a lot of players think PvP and PvE are completely different worlds. But for Frost Mage, a lot of the core philosophy stays the same. Awareness, positioning, pressure, control, movement. Those things matter everywhere. In PvP, this is where Frost Mage will truly shine. You become disruptive, slippery, frustrating, difficult to pin down, extremely dangerous when ignored. One of the biggest beginner misconceptions is thinking Frost Mage PvP is only about damage. It's not. Frost Mage is a controller class. Your value often comes from slowing enemies, controlling the healers, or peeling for your teammates, forcing bad movement situations, creating pressure, and punishing overextension. I focus more on pressure than raw damage because pressure changes their behavior. Pressure creates the panic creates openings, and that's when Frost Mage will become more deadly. The one thing I always tell beginners, you do not need to chase every single kill. Sometimes your job is simply slow the enemy, control the objective, disrupt the healer, create chaos in team fights. That's incredibly valuable. Now in PvE, a lot of people only focus on the damage meters, but Frost Mage brings much more than just damage. You bring utility in the slows, controls, interrupts, movements, survivability, and some sustained pressure. Frost Mage feels amazing in PvE once positioning starts to click, and especially in dungeons, Mythic Plus and upwards, because awareness matters there too. Strong Frost Mages are constantly paying attention to the mechanics, dangerous casts, positioning, movement paths, and group pressure. One thing I personally love about Frost Mage PvE, you can completely change the flow of certain situations using your utility. That's one reason I enjoy the class so much. That's one reason I often spec with counter spell. You're not just standing there pressing damage buttons, you're influencing the entire fight. All right, everyone, that's going to wrap up this Frost Mage beginner guide for WoW Midnight. Hopefully this video helped make Frost Mage feel a little less overwhelming and a little more exciting. Frost Mage is one of the most rewarding classes in the game once it finally clicks. You stop feeling fragile, you stop panicking, you stop reacting emotionally. And eventually you start controlling fights instead of just surviving them. Honestly, that's one of the reasons I connected with the class so deeply. Also, apologies if my voice sounded a little rough throughout this video. I've been a bit sick this week, but I really wanted to get this guide out because I knew a lot of newer and returning players could use it. Seriously, thank you to all the new subscribers recently. The channel has been growing insanely fast these past few days, and we're already pushing towards 1,000 subscribers, which honestly feels kind of surreal. So if you've been supporting the channel, thank you. There's a lot more content coming. Frost Mage PvP, battleground gameplay, more music. And speaking of music, if you enjoyed the atmosphere throughout this video, all of the music used on my channel is my own original work as a Tomb Sphinx. I create handpan music, ecstatic dance music, world music, and ceremonial sound journeys. So if you want something to game to, relax to, study or meditate, or just completely zone out, check the links in the description. Also, I recently started offering one-on-one sessions and support calls through Fiverr for people interested in emotional support, life guidance, or meditation or mindset work, or just some sound healing. So if that resonates with you, those links are also below. Finally, I genuinely love to hear from you in the comments if you're learning Frost Mage, returning to WoW, struggling with something, or even already experienced with the spec. Drop your thoughts, questions, or experiences below. My name's Tomb Sphinx. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next battleground.